What's up, people? Welcome back to Chris Chats Comics, and I am back again for another episode of Trade Talk Tuesdays. And in this week's episode, I'm going to be talking about The Seasons, Volume 2 from Image Comics. Now, let's get into it. Hello, again, my name is Chris Gonzalez, and in Trade Talk Tuesdays is the video series where I highlight and discuss and recap one collected edition or a couple collected editions, either that just recently came out or that are in my collection. And again, I mentioned I'm going to be going over The Seasons Volume 2, and this is written by Rick Remender. The art's done by Paul Azaceta. The colors are done by Matheus Lopes, and the letters are done by Rus Wooton. And this is from, again, Image Comics, from Rick Remender's Giant Generator imprints. And like always in Trade Talk Tuesdays, I'm going to be going over the back excerpt from the book. So, Spring Seasons, the overlooked youngest of the world-famous Four Season sisters, has vanished into the big top, chasing any trace of her missing family. Inside, impossible wonders and cruel temptations drag her deepest secrets into the spotlight, truths she'd do anything to keep buried. As Spring struggles to understand who she is without her sisters, the ringleader tightens his grip, turning every illusion into a lie and every admirer into a threat. So The Seasons, it's about these four sisters, again, named after the season. So Spring is the youngest, and then Autumn is the oldest, and then I believe it's Summer and Winter. Their parents are like adventurers, and their parents have gone missing. And in the first volume of The Seasons, it covers how this evil carnival has gone from town to town and essentially destroyed it and left it destitute, and now this carnival has come to The Seasons, their town. I believe it's called, New Glia. Pardon if I mispronounced that name, but so this evil town has come into the town of New Glia, this carnival, I should say, and there's some supernatural elements involved with this carnival, and it involves this curse that has been passed down for centuries, and now it's taken a hold of this town. And Spring, she had received a letter from her older sister Autumn, and Autumn had tried to warn her sisters of this upcoming carnival, and she warns them to get out of town, but no one was believing Spring. And again, her sisters, her older sister Winter is an aspiring artist, a painter. Her other sister Summer is a famous actress. And Autumn, again, Autumn is looking for her missing parents, and she kind of follows in her parents' footsteps and being an adventurer and seeking out these relics, kind of like an Indiana Jones archetype character. So yeah, in the first volume, towards the end of it, again, the carnival arrived in New Glia, and the way that the ringleader, like the main antagonist, the way that he or it takes over is he'll give people a mirror, and it shows them what they desire most, essentially, and it hypnotizes them and it puts them under a spell. And while people are hypnotized by looking at this mirror, everything pretty much goes to shit in their surroundings. So Summer, Summer Seasons, she was tricked into looking at the mirror because again, Summer's pretty vain and kind of a narcissist, and she was given the mirror, so she was hypnotized. So Spring, she tried to save her sister Summer, and again, this tent has been set up in the middle of their town, and so in order to save her sister. Spring goes into the tent, and that's where this starts off. And I gotta say, Rick Remender in this series just really shows his versatility as a writer, because I've read not everything from him, but a decent amount. Again, Uncanny X-Force is one of my favorite X-Men comics, period. Deadly Class, I love Deadly Class. And the current ongoing that I'm reading from him is Escape, really well done war story involving anthropomorphic animals. So I've been really digging that. And this is like, again, completely different from all those series. And it's more of like a dark fantasy, very anime influence. There's heavy influences from Hayao Miyazaki. Even Rick Remender himself has said like that he took his inspiration from Hayao Miyazaki in his movies, and you can definitely see that when reading this. And just the colors are just fantastic. They're very bright and vibrant, and the colors are done by Matheus Lopes. But even though the colors are very bright and vibrant, the story has a really dark and sinister undertone. There's this mystery, and again, Spring is trying to figure out what's going on with this carnival, and just trying to save her sisters. And so this volume 2, it collects the season's issues number 5 through 8. And and we'll get started in issue 5. So again, just look at the coloring, very very vibrant, and they pop out. So Spring, she goes into this tent, and again, she's trying to figure out what is going on with this carnival. Like, she's investigating, and all the citizens are hypnotized and under this spell, and they're looking into the mirror, and that includes her sister Summer, which is right here. And so this carnival, it's expanding in this town, and again, Spring, she's trying to get to the bottom of it and trying to stop this evil from spreading. And she has a pet goldfish named Gilbert, and her older sister Winter, again, initially doesn't believe her. Winter feels that Spring has become a burden, because ever since their parents have gone missing, Winter has been put in charge of taking care of Spring. And she, again, feels that Spring is essentially a burden. And Spring, again, pleads with her sister to help her look into this carnival, but again, Winter's not really complying. So Spring takes it into her own hands, and she goes into the tent. And this series is really, really trippy. Again, when Spring goes into the tent, she travels essentially to another realm. So while she's in the tent, we don't know what's real, what's not. And throughout the series, she's been, in the first volume, she would communicate with her pet fish, Gilbert. And when they enter the tent, Gilbert, he starts to get word bubbles of his own. So I like the banter back and forth between Spring and Gilbert. And then Spring, she comes across this imp who, again, is part of the carnival, and they're like again, very supernatural elements. There's dark fantasy elements, and again, a little bit of horror elements. It's not too scary, but yeah, and it's very trippy. So the ringmaster is trying to appeal to Spring and her desires, because Spring is an inspired. Spring, she likes to bake. So in this sequence, these panels, the ringmaster, who's this entity right here, is trying to manipulate Spring and trying to get her to look in the mirror, because the ringmaster is trying to play and manipulate Spring through her insecurities, and Spring's insecurities are that she feels unappreciated and that she thinks that she's a burden even amongst her own family. So the ringmaster has tried to use that to get Spring into looking into the mirror to hypnotize her, but Spring still is not having it. And then again, the artwork by Paul Azaceta, it's incredible. Gives a very whimsical vibe in this story, and again, very influenced by Hayao Miyazaki. And I just thought of, Spirited Away, I thought of Howl's Moving Castle, I thought of a bunch of his movies. And again, we don't know what's real, what's not. So Spring in issue 5, towards the end of it, she sees her parents, and apparently her parents were also caught in this curse and they were hypnotized, but we don't know if this is real or not. And then she comes across Autumn, and they're trying to get her to look into the mirror, but Spring doesn't want to do that. So in issue 6, Spring, again, she's running away from the ringmaster. She's doing her best not to look in the mirror, but again, the ringmaster is doing everything he can to manipulate her and to have her look into the mirror willingly. So Spring could be hypnotized and put under this curse. And to manipulate her, again, the ringmaster's trying to play into her desires, what her aspirations are through, baking and her family, and trying to be close to her family. So again, in this, she's into baking. So again, we don't know what's real and what's not. I believe this section is all an illusion. And again, this is the ringmaster just playing into more of Spring's insecurities. Again, the whole family, the parents, Summer, Autumn, Winter, they're all having a good time and, boasting that they're glad that Spring is a part of it. But obviously that's not true. Her sisters love her, and I'm assuming her parents did as well. So again, this is all a ruse by the ringmaster to hypnotize Spring. Also, I got elements of like Alice in Wonderland, and eventually her pet fish Gilbert, they had separated when they entered the tents, but they reunited, and Gilbert again is now a giant fish, and again has his own dialogue, and Gilbert saves Spring. So they escape the clutches of the ringmaster, and again, very trippy. This series is very trippy, and they are trying to get to the bottom of how do they defeat this carnival, and how do they get it out of their town. And just look at the artwork by Paul Azaceta is really good. And the coloring just makes the artwork even better. And eventually, Spring comes across Autumn, who is blindfolded because, again, she doesn't want to look into the mirror. And I'm assuming this is the real Autumn. And it doesn't really explain how Autumn got to this point, but I'm assuming, or back in volume 1, it did seem that Autumn was kidnapped by the carnival people. But Spring and Autumn, they reunite, And the ringmaster, again, he's ran out of patience, so he's gonna try to forcibly have Spring hypnotized. And again, the colors are just really great, and Spring refuses, but eventually Autumn gets hypnotized, and again she's looking at her desires, and then Spring escapes the tent and she runs into her sister Winter, and now Winter finally realizes that Spring was right the whole time and they're trying to escape, and the carnival has expanded. Look at how beautiful this double page spread is. But yeah, the carnival has expanded in the town of Gulia. So that's pretty much where we end in issue 6. Issue 7, again, Winter is finally come to the realization that Spring was right all along, and they are trying to escape the carnival, and they're racing towards their home. And eventually they do get to their home, and then the carnival minions are again giving chase to them, and then this guy, he is the owner of the bakery, Mr. Lorenzo, and apparently Spring, she had worked underneath him. She was, I guess, interning, but they have a strange relationship because Spring is always getting into some type of mischief, and Mr. Lorenzo, he is captured by this entity, and Spring tries to save him, and she does. And again, I just love the artwork. And then eventually they get to their home, and they find that Summer is in the home, and again she's still under the spell, and they try to get her to wake up, and in order for them to escape, Winter, she essentially stays behind to hold them off so Spring can escape, and Winter gets captured. Winter eventually gets captured, but Spring, she gets locked. She locks herself in their attic because when she received the letter from Autumn essentially tells Spring, like, you'll figure out how to defeat this carnival. And Spring, she gathers all the relics that Autumn had, collected over the years, and she uses them to fight off not sure if they're like demons or what type of entities they are, but Spring gears up to fight them. And then in the last issue, again, Spring, she continues to fight off these carnival imps. They call themselves imps, so they're from a different realm, I guess. I don't know. It's not 100% confirmed what exactly they are, but again, definitely some supernatural and mystical elements. And again, they're trying to take Spring. And then eventually Spring, she comes across this sword, and that was Autumn had retrieved, and she realizes that this sword can break people from being hypnotized. So she uses the sword to destroy the mirror that her sister Summer was holding. So Summer is no longer hypnotized, and she's brought back. But again, meanwhile, she broke Summer free from the curse. Winter was captured, and now Winter is under the curse. And this next section, it just shows what Winter is seeing. And again, Winter, she's an inspiring artist, so her desire is just to be, she wanted to be a lot more, she wanted her art to be more accepted. And something happens where eventually Winter, it seems like, I was kind of confused towards the end of this. I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but Winter eventually, she tricks the ringleader into, you know, passing on the curse. Again, Winter looks into the mirror, but she tricks the ringleader. She tricks the ringleader, and I guess I'm assuming she might be the new ringleader. And she tricks, I don't know. So is Winter becoming a villain? Did she just succumb to this curse? I don't know, but it was kind of confusing. So it seems like Winter is all about it now, and she's just like, she succumbed to the curse, and now she's in control. And she might be the new ringmaster. I'm not completely sure, but I thought the ending was very intriguing, and the mystery surrounding this whole curse and the carnival is very fascinating. I'm definitely intrigued to finding out what happens next. But that's pretty much it. That was The Seasons, Volume 2. Again, a very different type of story from Rick Remender. Again, I praise his versatility in what he writes, and the artwork by Paul Azaceta. Again, it reminded me of Hayao Miyazaki and all the Studio Ghibli films. And the colors by Matheus Lopes, again, very vibrant, and they pop, even though they bring out this lighter, very bright colors. The story itself is very dark, has very dark undertones, and I just really thought this was a very fascinating read. And if you're a fan of Rick Remender's writing, you definitely appreciate this. And if you're into like dark fantasy and like whimsical, not fairy tales, but just stories that have more fantasy elements, I think you'll really appreciate this. And there's a little bit of horror in this, but it's not too scary. So, but yeah, that was it. That was The Seasons Volume 2. Let me know if you've been reading this series. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And for the next episode of Trade Talk Tuesdays, I'm going to be going over a run that I've been really enjoying, and that's Batgirl, the 2024 series. And this one is highlighting Cassandra Cain as Batgirl. And again, it's written by Tate Brombal. The artwork's done by Takeshi Miyazawa. So I'll be going over the first volume of this. I think it's been a really great run so far. So be on the lookout for that next week. And yeah, that was it. So again, leave a like on the video, share the video, and I would really appreciate it. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. My goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers, so definitely subscribe to the channel. So again, that was the latest episode of Trade Talk Tuesdays. This is Chris Chats Comics. My name is Chris Gonzalez, and I'm out. Peace.